Hey everybody, hopefully this is working. This is a little bit of an experiment here. Um, I think we're coming online. So I was recording a video earlier this week about motor controllers. Had some little technical problems with the recording itself. So I decided I don't want to miss out on putting another video out this week. So instead of recording and putting it out whenever it gets done and being delayed, I decided let's go ahead and try something new and do this presentation live. So nothing pre-recorded here. I don't have anything written down. I do have my laptop so I can see if there's any comments. Hopefully that's working. If you look just to the side of your screen, there should be a little chat box. So if you have any questions or comments, or if you just want to say hi, plug something in there. It says that 20 people are watching, so somebody say something. Let's see if I can see a chat going on. And if that doesn't work, then oh well, we'll try that again in the future. So if you guys like the live function of the YouTube video, do leave a comment. Oh, here we go. I got howdy. Paul says hi. Hi, Kyle. Hi from New Jersey. Looks, sounds good. Okay, perfect. And yes, I was going to say, let me know if anybody has any problems with audio. I'm going to talk nice and loud. Don't have a microphone. I'm just right at the camera here. And there is a little bit of rain in the background. Hopefully that isn't coming through and you can't hear that. Yo, Denver. Hey, Kyle. What up from Washington State? Awesome. We're getting people everywhere. I'm liking this so far because I feel like normally I do the video, you guys put comments on, and then there's just this kind of delayed thing. So I think this is awesome. I want a beluga. There's one right there. Awesome. Hi from Texas. Smiley face. Vacaville. Hey, not too far away in Vacaville. So cool. Well, I'm going to jump into the video so you guys don't have to wait too long. What I was going to tell you about was a little bit more about motor controllers because, one, I've had a lot of questions from people about the motor controllers that are listed on my website. What's the difference between them? You know, size-wise, what plugs come on them, those types of things. So I'm going to try and answer a few of those. Got some more highs from West Virginia, Texas, Fort Lauderdale. People are coming on. Awesome. And then the other thing is, I've had some questions, a lot of my YouTube videos. I've had some emails, people asking about juiced bikes. Can I make a controller for them? And to be honest, I was looking at the specs online, and at first glance, I was thinking, oh, they're pretty high performance already. You know, I don't know what I can necessarily do. But then I had somebody send me a controller that came off of a juiced bike. And I'm sorry if you don't like what you hear, if you have one, or anything like that, but I was really disappointed. Because it's not at all what I expected. So I can tell you a little bit about that. This is the controller, but I'll show you the differences between all these. And I'm going to keep glancing over, watching for questions. I want one of your Rad Rover upgrades. They are out of stock, but I have more on the way. They sold out a lot faster than I expected. So awesome, guys. Thank you for everybody who bought one of those. Those are working well. Is it mandatory for the Rad Rover upgrade? The pedal assist went up. Oh, for the question on the Rad Rover and the pedal assist, to clear that up, the pedal assists are working perfectly fine. Those problems were resolved. It was just a fluke thing where the pedal assist I had stopped working when I put the upgrade on. But for everyone else, they've been putting the kit on, programming the screen, and everything's working perfectly fine. So no, you do not need to change the pedal assist. Although if you need one, I did add new pedal assist for the Rad Rovers online. So good question. That was something I wanted to mention. I don't want to get too off topic, but I do want to answer any questions like I said. Hey, from San Francisco. Hey, Alex. Looks like R. Hooper. Hey there from Warrensville, North Carolina. Awesome. We've got people from all over the country here. So jumping into these controllers, just to give you an example, this is the juiced bike controller. This is the stock Rad Rover controller. And I don't have one of the upgraded controllers for the Rad Rover on hand because, like I said, I'm sold out. I've been trying to send out everything that I'm getting in. But for a comparison, the Rover controller is black and the cables are different. but the internals are very similar to this one. The physical size is the same. So here's a stock Rad Rover controller. Here is the upgraded 35 amp controller. This is a 22 amp, by the way. That's the difference from the front. Lengthwise, you can see they're the same. And from the side, you can see they're actually about the same as well. So this one has heat seats on it, so it can dissipate the heat a little bit better. And of course, with 35 amps, you can get a lot more power out of it for better acceleration, better power up hills. And remember, your top speed is not going to change too much when you upgrade a controller just alone based on amperage. You do need to increase battery voltage if you want a higher top speed. So I don't want to sell anyone a controller and say, yeah, you're going to go faster without qualifying what exactly that means. Now, to answer some of the questions, Robert, yeah, we'll talk about the Rover upgrade a little bit here and there. If you have a specific question, feel free to ask. Here's a 20 amp controller that I sell on my website that is specified for the Saunders Fold. Something I need to clarify on all the controllers for any upgrades. If you have any questions, just ask, because unfortunately, Saunders changes things at random, so it's impossible for me to make a controller for every single version of the bike they made, because they change intermittently. For those that were paying attention to Saunders early on, when the bikes first came out, aftermarket screens like the LCD3 were directly compatible, and then Saunders didn't like people buying aftermarket screens, so then they changed the communication protocol on their own bikes so that aftermarket parts would no longer work, which is why you need to replace both the screen and a controller if you want to upgrade anything. And the other thing I want to mention is, I said this one is for the Saunders Fold. On the throttle, all of the controllers I sell, at least at the moment, they're specified for a Saunders bike, have a black throttle plug. Now, if you look at the Saunders bikes, if you have a single speed bike, that will always work. However, on the 7-speed bikes, another thing that was changed, no real reason that they had to do it, but they did. If it's a 7-speed bike, then they use a 3-pin yellow, or sometimes it's kind of an orange plug. Whether it's yellow or orange doesn't matter. So just be aware that if you buy one of these for a Saunders bike, you need a new throttle to go along with it, or you have to cut and splice and make things work that way, which some people have chosen to go that route as well. Daniel, more Rad Rover questions. Will it work with a 2019? Short answer is yes. I've got a 2019 Rover sitting over here to do some more upgrade videos on, but it doesn't have an output for the tail light. That's something that was added on the 2019 model. So if you're willing to lose the tail light, yes, it'll work. If not, then you'll have to wait a little while until a new version comes out, which I promise I will do. Second thing on the Saunders Fold controller, then after the single speed and 7-speed versions, now more recently Saunders has changed the controller yet again. And once again, there's no timeline that says you bought it now, you bought it then, here's what controller it is. It just is kind of random. It's hard to track that. They've changed it to where they now have more like the Rad Rover controller, where there's a wiring harness that goes up to the handlebars. So if you have a brand new Fold bike, the controller is quite a bit different from these. It'll still work, but you have to buy a lot of extensions and things, or make some modifications to make it all plug in. Now, once again, I said this is a 20 amp controller. Moving up, this is a 20 amp, and this is a 20 amp. So that was a 20 amp that I had. This is a 25 amp, and this is a 25 amp. I have a few different versions of 25 amp controllers online. Physically, they're all the same size, and if I can get it to fit, it's gonna be tight. This may be the size of the controller that is plug and play for a Rad Mini, because we might be able to squeeze that into the box below if we put the wires in the right spots and get rid of some of the brackets. But basically all the 25 amps are going to be the same physical size. The reason I have different versions is because the first Saunders bike that needed its own was the Saunders Thin, which used this very different battery plug, and the wires came out in different sides. Now, some people have asked, hey, I've got a bike and the wires come out one side, does it make a difference? Well, the first one was made this way because it was made to match the first controllers that came out. Then, as usual, they got changed. So the battery connection is correct. All of the other connections are correct aside from the throttle I mentioned. If it's a single speed, it's good. If it's a 7-speed, you will need to change that. And this is another 25 amp. Normally they come with this smaller motor plug. This is going to be important. Pay attention to that. It's going to come up in our discussion here. This one is normally used on either 350 or 500 watt motor controllers. So 500 watt and less. If you go ask Bafang, the manufacturer of the motors, if they will put a plug like this on their 750 watt motor, they will tell you no, because this connector cannot handle 750 watts. It's going to get hot. They don't trust it. They won't do it. That's why we had a 25 amp controller made with a 750 watt motor plug. So that way, if people want to upgrade from a 350 or 500 watt motor, there's a controller that will work. So be aware, 750 watt motor or bigger, 500 watt motor or smaller. Very big difference between the two. Very easy to tell in pictures and everything. Okay? Now next up, going bigger, this is a 35 amp controller. Once again, the same size as the Rad Rover. These are popular as a Saunders upgrade. I've had people use them for other things as well. We beef up the battery connector to an XT90. It's got that bigger motor plug, and basically you're just getting more current. These can work on either 48 or 52 volts. If you're going to go up to 60 volts, then you need a different version, which I don't list online, but it's something I can get if people want it. Now, something that's not listed online is another 35 amp. This thing is a monster. Slightly better quality. Obviously, the size is a factor. That's not going to fit in a Saunders box. It's harder to fit on a frame somewhere. But I'm going to put some of these online for those that want the most performance and efficiency and cooling as an option, because the difference really between these two is the number of MOSFETs inside. Now, if you don't know what those are, just keep it real simple. Basically, think of it like a small switch inside here that turns on the power and lets it get to the motor. So this has 12 MOSFETs, if I recall correctly, and this has 18. So just a slightly higher quality motor controller than this one, but as you can see, disadvantage, physically, this thing is massive. Now, back to the thing that I came here for, that I said I was disappointed about. And I'll hold right there because I see more questions. Update on 24-inch suspension fork. I like to inline videos. I can answer all these questions all at once. I got a sample of a 20-inch fork, which means 26-inch forks for fat bikes are back in stock. 20-inch is going to be available soon, and a 24-inch sample should be arriving any day. So you guys get to learn all sorts of cool things if you're watching my live videos. That means I'm going to have 20-inch, 24-inch, and 26-inch fat bike forks all in stock soon. So that way we have anything available for all those different sizes. The forks are from the same manufacturer, same basic specifications, just different lengths for different bikes. So they will be here soon. If you have a controller that works with a 1000 watt Mac motor, uses an 850 display. Short answer to that is no, but I can look into that. Robert says, cool, thanks. On the fork, of course. So here is the controller from a juiced bike that somebody sent me, and here's why I was disappointed with it. I'll just be honest with you. This is a 20 amp controller, like I said, designed for aftermarket for a Saunders, for either like a 350 or even a 500 watt motor. Small motor plug, you know, just average sized wires. I had to second guess and ask multiple times what bike this came off of. So this came off of the juiced, oh, now I'm drawing a blank on the different models, but basically the Hyper Scrambler, that's what it is. and it claims that it has 1,100 watts of power, and I have a problem with that. Now, if you look, this is like the smallest motor controller I have, and can you guys see the size of these battery connectors? Do you see a problem here? These wires are tiny. They should not be that small. That was the first thing I noticed. Second, we have a 1,100 watt motor, and we've got a little tiny plug. This should be on a 500 watt or smaller motor. If it doesn't burn up, you're limiting your power. This is like, imagine this like a hose, right? Amps are very similar to water flowing through a hose. If you have a smaller hose and you restrict the flow, you don't get as much water through. Well, if you have a smaller wire and you restrict the flow of current, you don't get as much performance. This isn't correct. And this motor connector just is disappointing, like I said, because this is misleading to me, because I don't think you can get the performance claimed out of this little controller. To get 1,100 watts, you should be using something at least this size. And just for comparison, so you guys know I'm not just making this stuff up, this is the same size of controller I include on my 750 watt 24-inch fat bike online. I claim online it's a 750 watt bike. Here's a competitor saying this is an 1,100 watt bike. Bigger controller, bigger wires, bigger motor connector. Now, to be fair, I do limit it to 750 watts because that's legal. If you turn this up, which is easy to do, it'll do about 1,200 watts, and that's a real 1,200 watts. So 750 watt bike, bigger controller, bigger wires, and comes with a bigger motor, which we know based on the fact that this is using a small motor connector, and this connector even says Bafang on the side. Somebody can try and see if Bafang will say something different, but in my experience, they are not going to sell you that and call it a 750 watt or larger power rating. They just won't do it, and neither will I. So there's the bad news, I guess, is that I don't feel like people are getting what's advertised, and I think that's severely limiting the performance of those particular bikes. Now, on the good side, I guess, I have one, which means I'm going to send it off, and I'm going to try and have something better made that's plug and play, so that way these things can get the performance they are supposed to. So for those that have been asking via email and YouTube videos, comments and everything, because I've been getting a lot of them, like I said, on the juiced bikes, yes, I am planning on making upgraded controllers for the juiced bikes, which means that you're going to get something with more capability, more power, more adjustability, more programmability, and it's going to be less expensive than what they call their off-road kit, which I looked at it online. As far as I can tell, it's just a different controller. I watched one of their install videos that's programmed differently. It doesn't seem right. I don't know how else to put it. It just doesn't seem right. Yay, good aftermarket juice controllers. Yeah, so it takes a little bit of time, I'll be honest, to make aftermarket controllers, because I got to send this one off, get all the connections made. Then we got to send it out to a few people, test it, make sure there's no quirks or bugs or anything. But hopefully that will make a lot of people happy, that because I've seen a lot of people sending controllers back and forth, conversations online with Juiced, and hey, my controller's a little flaky, or throttle doesn't work randomly between certain speeds. Hopefully we can just eliminate all those problems and make it cheaper than what they offer, because they don't have to be that expensive. Asking for info on 25 amp controller that fits a 2008 Rad Mini again. Okay, so here's what I've seen done so far on the Rad Mini. Some people have bought the larger controller that's this size for the Rad Rover and mounted it right underneath the bike. So if you want something now or soon, because I'm out of stock, coming back any day, that's one option you have. If not, what I'm going to try and do is see if I can have a 25 amp made that will squeeze into that space where the existing controller lives on the Rad Mini. Now, one good thing about the Rad Power bikes is, even though they're using a smaller controller and a smaller 500 watt motor, relabeled to 750, they did use the bigger motor plugs. So you don't have to change out the motor if you don't want to, but having done it myself, I can tell you the whole combination makes it a whole new bike. It's insanely different. So I don't have that yet, but I'm working on it, and I'll try and get as many of these controllers out that are compatible for different bikes as I can. And you know, if there's enough demand, we'll make them. And if not, you know, at least I'll try and get some connections or cables so you can make it work on something else if you want to. I was told Mac motors are difficult to tune. What's your experience? Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. The only place I've seen people saying that was online in the Juiced forums, so I'm a little skeptical, but I have to reserve judgment until I've made some controllers and we've tested it and see if we run into any issues or not. So I'm not aware of any real problems. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but we'll find out. And for those that know me and have bought products from me, you know I'll stand behind it and we'll make it work. So thanks again for everybody that's come here live and watched this video. Hopefully you learned a little bit of something about controllers. Once again, just a few reminders. Increase your amps, get more power, as long as you're not restricted by small little tiny wires. And by more power, I mean more watts. That means more acceleration. That means you can go faster up hills, but you don't necessarily increase your top speed unless you're going to change to a higher voltage battery. Which reminds me of one little tidbit on this one I just thought was just added to the disappointment for me personally. Claiming 1100 watts, you guys can do the math, 48 volts times 20 amps is, I think, 1040 watts. So stretched it with what's installed and then stretched it a little further by rounding up. Yeah. So how much longer till, oh wait, we got a bunch of questions I missed now. You guys keep asking. I don't want to make this video drag out too long, but I do want to answer any questions for anybody that made the effort to be here live. Thank you. And performance numbers on the Rad Rover after installing the new controller. I will get some for you. Unfortunately or fortunately, either way you look at it, the 2017 white Rad Rover I had, and I was doing the upgrade videos on, I ended up putting a 52 volt battery on it, changing out the motor to a real 750 watt motor, and had the 35 amp controller, and that thing was a beast. I thought about doing a burnout video with that one because it would probably do it. I had somebody that came by locally and was looking for a bike, and that was the perfect fit, so I sold it. So I don't have it anymore, but right off the side of the camera here is a black 2019 Rover. So I am going to go ahead and check the motor to see what they included for 2019, so we know, is it a 500 watt labeled to 750 like the others, or is it a real 750 watt Bafang motor? And I will put the upgraded controller on it, and I'm going to upgrade to 52 volt battery so we get the full performance package on it, and then I'll get you some hard numbers on how that compares to before. And I can assure you it's a whole different animal. There's no comparison between the two. And in that case, it is faster, top speed, and everything. So just faster all the way around the board. And next question, what we got? Plans in the future for products to upgrade a standard bike to e-bike with through axle setup. Excellent question, Richard. I have looked at some e-bikes that come with through axles. It's kind of an odd thing where some bikes have it and some don't on e-bikes. Usually once you get up to a higher price point, you start seeing those. And I'm all about making things affordable, but at the same time, durable. So I could make some forks and front wheels and things with a through axle up front right away. There are some bikes that have a through axle on the rear. But to be honest, the pricing goes up. If you're willing to pay for the extra cost, it can be done. But for most people I've talked to, they don't want to spend the extra money for that alone. So it's possible. I don't have anything specific planned in the near future, just because it does bring the cost of everything up, and I haven't seen the demand or necessarily the need for it yet. I do think they're nicer. They can be, nicer for various reasons, but it's always a balance between what's the return versus the price and what are people willing to pay for it. And as everybody knows, I always want to make things the best quality I can for the best price that I can. How long till the testers are out? I'm trying to get those over here as fast as I can. I don't have a specific date for you yet. Greetings from Sonoma Wine Country, Northern California. Richard says, gotcha. Okay. Well, that's all I have for you today. Even once this video goes down, if you didn't make it here live, I'm going to leave the video up. Let people watch it whenever they want to watch it. Feel free to continue to comment on the video, ask questions. I'll try and get back to questions. I used to be able to get back to everybody on the videos. I know I can't do all the questions anymore, but I'll try as much as I can, especially on live videos. If you like the live video format versus a recording, give me a thumbs up or something. Let me know if we should do this again. So there's 45 people watching now. If you're watching now, just say something on the chat right now. Let me know. Did you like the live video? Did you like being able to ask questions? Should I do this more often? And if we get enough feedback, then I'll decide to do that. So, fast, dependable e-bike. Well, I certainly can do that. So, thanks again for everybody that came to watch or anybody who came afterward. Hope you like this format. It's a little bit different, a little more informal, but I wanted to answer people's questions and see how that went. So, tuned in too late. Don't worry. Let me know if you like this. Go back and watch it when it's over. Daryl says, let's do it again. I got a yes. Yes more often. So, cool. I'm seeing a lot of yeses. So, keep them coming. Let me know. Thanks again. I'm gonna disappear so I can turn off that camera, and we'll see you guys later.